Yesterday's draw over Brentford, as I said in the previous video regarding the game, I felt was a really positive result for West Ham. Exactly what we needed. I thought there was a lot of good things in that game, actually. I don't get me wrong, I really don't want to make it sound like I was thrilled and was like, oh my God, what an unbelievable West Ham performance. I just found it pleasing considering the week we've had and just going into this game. And that's bearing in mind, that's a tough place for us to go. We've never had good results at that place. So it was encouraging to see us actually go there and get a point and come back from a goal down. It was really good, really pleased about it. But I want to talk about Lucas Paqueta because I thought his performance in that game was poor. He's been really poor for West Ham this season. Nowhere near the levels we're used to seeing with Lucas Paqueta. It just feels like he is a man that's got a lot on at the moment. I think it's quite evident he is not there mentally. And it's understandable, isn't it? It was kind of... I felt that up to this point, he's handled things pretty well, actually. He seems like he sort of puts it to one side and lets his football do the talking. But this season, it feels like a bit different. I don't know whether you agree with this, but I feel like when I watch him play now, he looks a bit of a shadow of the player he was. And because he's just lacking that confidence. He lacks that ability at the moment. He can't seem to do the simple things in my eyes at the moment. I remember watching him against Chelsea and the amount of balls he was giving away. And we're talking sort of passes that I could make. And I really mean that. Do you know what I mean? I'm watching him thinking, you literally got a pass the ball 5 yards. It's a guy standing waiting for the ball and you're playing it way off. I couldn't quite work it out. It's horrible to see it. And I felt against Brentford, it was much the same. It felt like he just gives the ball away so often. I will say, though, I mean, he works hard. I'm not suggesting that he seems to get stuck in and he will work hard and he's still got that aggression. You can see what it means to him. He really wants West Ham to win. So I'm really pleased with all that kind of stuff. But you can clearly see that there's something really lacking with Paqueta at the moment. And it's sad. I don't like seeing it. And it's creating a bit of a dilemma, isn't it, for Lopetegui? Because it's almost like now he's kind of faced with the decision to drop a player of the ability of Lucas Paqueta. It's difficult, isn't it? I mean, if you're in his position, yeah, he's not playing well, but then there's always the back of your mind thinking, but it's Lucas Paqueta. He's got the ability. He's got something about him. He can make something happen out of nothing. And I think that it's important that we keep that in mind. He's still a wonderful footballer when he wants to be. When he's at it, he's amazing. But there's no doubt about it. At the moment, this season, he has been far from that player for us. So it's difficult situation at the moment with him, and it's getting worse, isn't it? Regarding this trial situation that he's under, regarding his allegations for betting. Now, so obviously, just a quick background. I'm sure you know all about it. I don't want to go into too much detail, but Lucas Paqueta, of course, has been charged by the FA for basically. They suspect him of getting booked on purpose, which was to benefit family members back home to placing bets on. Now, what there was at the time, and this is where there's a real worry now, is that it was regarding two players. It wasn't just Lucas Paqueta, it was Luis Enrique as well when he was playing for Real Betis at the time. So basically, the suggestion is that Lucas Paqueta's family were placing bets on Paqueta and Enrique to get booked in games they were playing in to obviously help their odds. And they all opened accounts at the same time. They all placed a maximum bet sum, which is a few grand, whatever it is. And this was then highlighted to Betway. Betway, they had to let all the authorities know. And I know some fans have been out quite angry at Betway for that. But I mean, at the end of the day, they don't care. They've got to do it, haven't they? It's part of the rules that they have to do. So they've obviously alerted the officials and said, look, there's some irregularities here we're a bit concerned about. It's then been looked into. And there's investigations ongoing. I mean, and it looks like Paqueta's going to have to, fight out in court to defend himself at the moment. And I've got to say, the developments are not good at all. So much so, actually, that my confidence in Paqueta being found not guilty are waning, actually, quite considerably. So what's come out now is that they have obtained evidence that Lucas Paqueta's uncle and his cousin have sent, I think, $5,000 to Luis Enrique. They've got evidence of a payment. So the problem we have with this now is that it absolutely directly gets Paqueta and Enrique's, they're in connection with each other. They're in communication somewhere along the line. Whether it might not be direct, it's via Lucas Paqueta's family. So much so that Lucas Paqueta's family now have had to come out and defend themselves. And the defence was just money I owed him. It was just a private matter, and that's money I owed him, and I paid him back. I mean, I'm sorry, it doesn't sound good, does it? I mean, that to me is a really clutching at straws excuse. It could be true. It could be completely true. He might have owed him $5,000. I just struggle to believe it. Do you know what I mean? I'm really struggling to believe that. But is that enough to get found guilty? I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. I don't know how these things will play out in court and in front of a sport tribunal. I don't know. But it's difficult, isn't it, to suggest that, let's be honest, that is not good. That is really not good. The fact that Lucas Paqueta's family have been paying money to Luis Enrique, and it's the whole situation is now looking worse for Lucas Paqueta. And do you know what? I think it also gives us a little bit of a indication as to why Paqueta's form has been so off this season, why it's been so bad. He's got a lot hanging over him, and it seems now like, looking at what we've now witnessed in terms of the evidence coming out and the response from Paqueta's family, he must be realising that there's been a significant shift towards the fact that he's probably going to be found guilty. That's my gut feeling. I mean, as I say, is it enough? Maybe not. Maybe they'll go, well, all right, we've got no evidence. It doesn't mean anything. But to me, it doesn't look great, because what it now does, as I say, it creates that connection between Luis Enrique and Lucas Paqueta. Even if it's not, as I say, not directly, they're not directly talking, there is a connection. It's not good. And I'm worried about Paqueta this season now. I'm starting to feel like we are in a situation where he's going to struggle to maintain his starting role at West Ham. I really do. I think he's going to struggle, because I'll tell you why as well. I thought that Carlos Soler was excellent against Brentford. I thought he looked really good. I think that actually he was doing a lot of what you'd expect to see Paqueta do. I thought that he was quite creative. He's got his head up. He's trying to make things happen. He's got a bit of flair about him. He's got a good pass on him. And I just think to myself that really this is kind of what we need now. At the moment with Paqueta, yes, you've got that flair, and yes, you've got unpredictability with him, where he can make something happen out of nothing. He's a wonderful, talented player, but his retention of the ball is awful at the moment. It's been really bad. He gives the ball away so often. And I'm just getting quite concerned. And I feel like when you now see what's coming out of Brazil in terms of all this evidence and stuff, it kind of adds up. You're thinking, well, is this whole trial stuff becoming too much for him? Is it consuming him? I wouldn't blame him if it is. I'm sure it would be for anyone that, hanging over you, thinking your career could be gone at any point soon. It's quite worrying. But I'm really concerned about this new bit of evidence. And I don't know what you think about it, in terms of Lopetegui now. Because one thing I've been really pleased with Lopetegui is the fact that he's not frightened to make decisions. He's not frightened to drop players. He's not frightened to make the big calls. He doesn't seem too fazed by that whatsoever. And I quite like that. I quite admire that. I felt that under the previous management and Moyes and stuff, that it never felt like the case. It always felt like players were on the pitch regardless, sometimes of performances. But I feel like with Lopetegui, he's not frightened to drop players that aren't performing well. And we've seen it, and certainly in games. I mean, he's taken off Rodriguez, wasn't it, the first half against Chelsea? I mean, which is starkly. Considering that he's the new signing for him as well. He just weren't phased to do it at all. So I wonder now how he's going to handle this Paqueta situation. Because Brentford, he wasn't good. Let's get it right. He was poor again, Paqueta. I'm waiting to see that improvement. I'm waiting to see him just go, right, draw a line under all that. I'm going to just focus on my football. I felt like we saw that previously with Paqueta. When this was all coming out, when it all broke, and let's be honest, when it first broke, it was big news. It was back page. It was everywhere. Paqueta, could be banned for life. It was all these big things. But West Ham played him. Played him straight away. If you remember, he played in the Bournemouth game actually, it was around the time he was going to Man City, but he was playing in games around that time when he's moved to Man City. He was looking on, and it was all off because of the whole betting stuff. But he actually, I felt like he was thriving during that. It's almost like he responded quite well to say, well, do you know what? Stuff you. I'll show you how good I am. I feel like we're losing that element of him this season. I don't feel like we're getting that Paqueta. I feel like we're getting a Paqueta that looks sluggish. He looks stressed. He doesn't look himself. He doesn't look confident. West Ham needs to get it right. You know, this is a big situation we've got to handle here because there's not much we can do about the betting stuff. I know that they can obviously stand by the player, but ultimately, there's not much we can do, is there, other than stand by him as best we can and support him and his family. But ultimately, I don't think that things are looking good at the moment. I think that new line of evidence now has come out in terms of his uncle and his cousin sending money is not good at all. And if you're standing back from it, you know what I mean, and you've got no involvement of it, and you see that, it points towards a guilty man, in my opinion. So it's not to say he will be found guilty. I hope that's not the case. Of course, I want this to be sorted out and resolved, and hopefully it's all found that he hasn't done anything wrong and we can just move forward. But my word, this new evidence suggests that it's not going to be the case at all.